Hey guys, this is God of Politics and welcome back to a brand new video. But before we get started with this video, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Also join the Discord that is linked down in the description. But in today's video, I'm going to be doing an alternate 2012 election between Barack Obama and Joe Biden versus Donald Trump and Marco Rubio. This is an alternate history election. If Donald Trump had run in 2012, some people thought he would run in 2012. He even said that he was thinking about running in 2012. He believes that 2012 was an election that they could have won. The Republicans could have won with Mitt Romney, and Mitt Romney failed, which, I mean, Mitt Romney did fail because he lost the election, but Donald Trump believes that he could have won it. Well, I'm going to be predicting whether he actually could have won it in this election. I'm just going to be going through the map here, seeing who would have won each one of these states here, accounting for many of the trends as well in some of these states, and just going through each one of these states. So as always, starting off with the safe states for the Republicans, I do believe they would have won Idaho, Wyoming, Utah, as well as North Dakota, South Dakota, all of Nebraska except for the 2nd District, Kansas, Oklahoma. I would have believed they won Texas, but Donald Trump would have won Texas by a safe margin with Marco Rubio on the ticket. Louisiana, Arkansas, Missouri, Tennessee, Mississippi, Alabama, Kentucky, South Carolina, Indiana, West Virginia, as well as Alaska. So that's actually 160 safe electoral votes, which is more safe electoral votes than the Republicans get now. And as for the Democrats with Barack Obama and Joe Biden, I do believe they would have won Washington, Oregon, California, Hawaii, Illinois, as well as New York, Vermont, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island. Actually, let's just fix this here. So Connecticut, Rhode Island, New Jersey, Maryland, Delaware, and D.C. So that's 182, actually plus means 1st District, 183 safe electoral votes to Donald Trump and Marco Rubio's 160 electoral votes. If you don't remember, back in 2012, Marco Rubio was the often front runner. He was considered the front runner to be vice president in 2012. He didn't end up getting it. That was Paul Ryan. But I'm assuming that Marco Rubio would have done it just to give some more minority support amongst Latinos, maybe, and win in some states like Florida, which is a state that he'll have to have won. Next, going into the likely margin states, I do believe we would have won Arizona. It's a state with a lot of suburbs that hadn't trended to the Democrats yet. Same thing with the state of Montana. Montana, if you don't remember, Montana went to Barack Obama, actually went to McCain by 3 points over Barack Obama back in 2012 here. In 2008, went to John McCain by 3 points in 2008. In 2012, I do believe it would have gone by around 9 to 10 points here, pushing it into the likely column here. The next state going down here is the state of Georgia. Georgia is a state that hadn't trended yet either. It went by 8 in the real election, and in this scenario, I do believe it would have gone by around 8 as well, and that would have been quite an interesting result there. So that's actually all of the likely margin states for the Republicans. They're at 190 electoral votes, and as for the Democrats, I do believe that they would have won. The only state they would have won by a likely margin, the only state, is the state of New Hampshire, a state that has a more rural population, which is what Donald Trump capitalized on in 2016, but it was an area that Barack Obama did do very well in, as well as Maine at large, I do believe would go by a likely margin to Barack Obama and Joe Biden, which means they have 189 electoral votes after the likely margin. Donald Trump and Marco Rubio actually have 190 electoral votes. Republicans are winning here. Going into these lean margin states here, first of all, for the lean margin, I do believe Florida would be a lean margin to Donald Trump and Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio, the junior senator at this time from Florida, would have been able to do well in the state of Florida. It was his home state. He was quite popular there, as well as Donald Trump, being from there, having a resort there, things like that. Barack Obama even barely won it in 2008, going against John McCain, even when he won by a landslide, showing that this, it's going to be close either way. And although Barack Obama wasn't incumbent, I do believe that it would have flipped. And that's actually all of the lean margin states for the Republicans there. They're now at 219 electoral votes to Barack Obama and Joe Biden's 189. As for the lean margin states for them, I do believe they would win Nevada by a lean margin. It did go by 7 in real life, but I do believe, Marco Rubio is Republican Latino. For example, George Bush in 2004 won the Latino vote. I do believe Marco Rubio could reach out to some of them, get some of those voters that could have been polarized by Donald Trump's comments on immigration, things like that. Because if you don't remember, Donald Trump actually did better with Latinos than Mitt Romney did. And so having Marco Rubio on the ticket as well could increase turnout and could incentivize some more people to vote for a Latino, trying to suppress the fact that they may believe that Donald Trump is, for example, against Latinos or something like that due to his immigration rhetoric, things like that. And so I do believe that, for example, states like Nevada and Colorado and New Mexico would go to the Democrats by a lean margin here because of the influence of those Latino voters. And while suburban voters in areas like Colorado Springs in Colorado, for example, wouldn't have trended so much to the Democrats, and these areas were less blue than they are now, I do believe that they still would have quite easily gone to Barack Obama and Joe Biden. Here, the next state I do believe would have gone by a lean margin is the state of Virginia. Virginia is a state that hadn't gone to Democrats since 1964 before it went to Barack Obama in 2008 here, in which the Democrats won it by around 6 percentage points against John McCain. In 2012, I do believe they would have done the same thing because, again, while suburban areas hadn't trended as much and Marco Rubio could have won some of those areas back, I still do believe that Donald Trump does not do well enough in the suburbs to kind of accelerate those trends towards the Democrats, especially in places like Virginia and those Nova counties that do like Democrats similar to Joe Biden and Barack Obama here. So that would have made that a lean margin state. The next state is going to be the state of Pennsylvania, which I do believe would be going by a lean margin here. Pennsylvania is a state that went to Barack Obama quite a lot in 2008. And you have to remember, these states that went to Donald Trump in 2016, they trended heavily red after going to the Democrats quite easily in 2008 and 2012 and for, decades, frankly. And so that's why I also believe that Barack Obama and Joe Biden would have won all of these states by lean margins. And that's not to say that these states won't be closer, because I do believe that they will be a lot closer, but it will be quite an easy victory for Barack Obama and Joe Biden, especially in those Rust Belt areas, due to the fact that, these are historically Democratic areas, and Donald Trump, while he could have done better in some of those rural areas, not done too bad in the suburban areas, a lot of that support would have still gone to Barack Obama. And especially, Donald Trump's divisive rhetoric that is objectively a characteristic of his would have gone a lot worse against Barack Obama, especially being a black person. And you have to also remember one other thing that's very notable about Donald Trump is Donald Trump denied the fact that Barack Obama was born in the country and wanted to see his birth certificate, then calling his birth certificate a fake thing. That could be somewhat of a scandal for him, not for Barack Obama, because clearly he was born in the United States objectively, whether you like it or not. But with Donald Trump, challenging those kinds of things, part of that what some people deem to be a racist rhetoric there. So that's why I do believe, especially in areas like the Rust Belt, these rural areas wouldn't have gone to Donald Trump by too much. After the lean margin states here, we can see that Barack Obama and Joe Biden are at 278 electoral votes. Donald Trump and Marco Rubio are at 219 electoral votes here. Getting into these tilt margin states here, first of all, for the Republicans, I actually do believe they would have won the state of Ohio. Ohio's a state that's trended heavily Republican here. Mitt Romney actually almost won it, and Donald Trump does do very well with these kind of Midwest farming areas, those manufacturing areas, or what used to be manufacturing areas. And while Marco Rubio could have been able to win some of those suburban areas back over that trended away from the Republicans, even with Donald Trump doing so well in Ohio. And so that's something that you really have to watch out for in the state of Ohio, which is why I do believe that they could have won the state of Ohio while not winning the presidential election overall. I also do believe that they would have flipped the state of North Carolina along with the state of Ohio, flipping back to the Republican column here, because, again, this is a state that does have a lot of suburban areas, but it also does have many rural areas that Donald Trump could have improved on that Mitt Romney did not do as well in. And Mitt Romney did well in these many highly populated suburban areas, which Marco Rubio kind of could have helped with and, turned some of those voters away from Barack Obama and Joe Biden and to Donald Trump's column. Also, another thing that I haven't mentioned before is that Donald Trump would most likely be more trusted on the economy. People would think that he's better at saving the economy, which in 2012 was really not in that good of a position here. And I do believe that that would have been a benefit to Donald Trump, especially, he was a businessman, things like that. And so that would have helped him here. But I do believe that they would have flipped the state of North Carolina. And then all of these other areas are going to go to Barack Obama and Joe Biden by tilt margins. That includes Nebraska's 2nd district, which did go to Barack Obama in 2008 here. as well as Iowa, which in real life went to him by 6 points. In this scenario, I do believe would go by around 2 percentage points, pushing it into the tilt margin. But again, Donald Trump would do a lot better in those rural areas here, pushing that into a tilt margin column here, as well as Maine's 2nd district, which would trend heavily towards the Democratic column due to the fact that Donald Trump does do better in those rural areas and not so well in the suburban areas, which is why Nebraska's 2nd is Democratic. So this is the overall map here. 286 electoral votes for Barack Obama and Joe Biden, 252 for Donald Trump and Marco Rubio. This is closer than the real-life election, but still pretty much a comfortable victory for Barack Obama and Joe Biden because there aren't too many close states. So yeah, I thought this would be quite an interesting video to make just due to the fact that this could be a complete alternate history here. Barack Obama, ended up winning in 2012, but what if Donald Trump had run? Could that have changed the outcome of the election? Could Donald Trump still be a president in his 2nd term now had he run in 2012 and won in 2012? Many interesting hypotheticals to think about. Obviously, this didn't happen, but this is if it did happen. So yeah, thank you all for watching this video. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Also, join the Discord that is linked down in the description. So thank you all for watching, guys, and I will see you guys later.